Real Conversations in the QC is sponsored by Accentra Credit Union. This is Real Conversations in the QC,
where Black experiences matter.
Black stories are heard.
And real conversations happen. So, let's get started. Thank you for joining us for this week's episode of Real Conversations in the QC. I'm host and contributor Theresa Bryant.
And I'm contributor Jasmine Butler. This week, we take a close look at second chances and a cost of having a criminal record. I sat down with Dwayne Hodges, a local business owner who once served time.
He shares with us his emotional return to the community and how he navigated the challenges of reentry, including job rejections and reuniting with his family. Take a listen.
Dwayne, thank you so much for joining us on Real Conversations today.
Thank you.
So for our viewers, let's talk about who you are. So who were you before incarceration?
So I was just an individual really kind of just wandering in life. I had just got out of the military and I was just trying to figure myself out. You know, I was young. I was 22 years old, actually, and I was just trying to figure things out. Life was just kind of, how they say nowadays, lifing for me, and I was trying to figure out what I wanted to do, where I wanted to go, where I wanted to be. And, you know, I was just an individual working odd end jobs here and there, and then just got caught up in the life, to be honest with you.
Yeah, which it happens to a lot of young Black men. So what was the hardest part for you mentally and emotionally?
Are you talking about before incarceration or after?
Let's say
before. Okay.
Before.
So really the hardest part for me emotionally was really, I had children, you know, and I had two. I actually had one kid, and then my kids, I had other kids. They were already born, and trying to figure out how to be a dad to them. You know, that was, you know, even before that, I was trying to figure out how to be a provider, and I've always prided myself on being a provider, but it was hard. It was trying to figure out like what I wanted to do, and emotionally it was really hard because as a man, you want to be that protector, you want to be that provider, you want to be that person that's doing everything for everybody in a sense. But when you can't, you just feel down. You know, you feel down on yourself, and depression and those things that, you know, anxiety kicks in, and you can't be, you know, and then you don't know where to go for help because people are telling you that's not a real thing. So it was very hard during that time.
So, okay, now fast forward, you've done your time. So what was that first 24 hours after release like?
Well, obviously I was happy because I was no longer in that place. And you know, and I'll be honest, when I walked out of those doors, I said to myself, I said to the people around me, anybody that would listen, that I was never coming back there. And I was just happy, you know. I got a good meal. I got to see some of my family that I hadn't seen in a long time because I was gone roughly about a decade. And so when you're gone that long from society, it changes a lot. You know, my kids, I really didn't get a chance to see them when I first got out because I was restricted to like the halfway house and what you could do there. But it was emotional, but I was just glad to be away. I was elated to not have to wake up and see a bunch of men and guards telling you got to do this, guards telling you got to do that. But I was happy. I was just really happy. That's really the overwhelming feeling.
So coming back to this community, did you feel welcome back, or did you feel judged, or maybe even a combination of both?
I believe to me, it was a combination of both for me because I didn't leave on I'm going to say I left on bad terms. I left with some good relationships with some people, but also, you know, the aspect of the really thoughts I was having about like, oh my gosh, I got to apply for a job and now I have a felony. You know, I have to go and try to, you know, reintegrate myself back into the lives of my children. And it's going to be hard because I've been gone for so long. So I felt there's a certain part of me that felt welcome because I did go to church. Like as soon as I got out, I started going to a church, and I definitely felt welcome by them because they no one ever judged me there. They just made me, you know, feel at home, and I did feel at home. So that part of it was, but I was really hesitant about just the what's to come. That was what was really I had fear of.
Yeah, so definitely a combination of both. And what challenge surprised you the most during that time frame of, you know, being reaccepted or welcome back home, and all of the assumptions and the thoughts of the what ifs, what were some of the most biggest challenges?
Well, what's really crazy about me is my situation. I had prepared myself so much from when I was in there. Like, I think I read every book I could read. I was, of course, because I was a person that was into God, and I was reading the Bible, and I was preparing myself. So when I got out, I ain't gonna say I didn't face challenges, but I guess one thing that did challenge me the most was, the aspect of when you do apply for 20 jobs and nobody calls you, and you're going, man, I mean, am I not worthy of these people? Do they not feel like I can do the job, And that was probably the most challenging part, is just being rejected on so many levels. I mean, when you just constantly going to apply for things and then the people are just telling you no, because I'm not just saying I was told yes my whole life, but it was just very difficult because I just was like, man, I'm going to get something right away and I'll be okay. Because I was reading about, like, after 7 years, they really can't still use things against you. But obviously they can see those things. And at that time I was fresh out, and so but that was one of the most challenging things. Just that rejection is hard. It's very hard.
But it sounds like you were definitely preparing yourself. You did the work while you were down to learn what is to come with all of this.
Yes, absolutely.
That's good. So what doors were closed because of your record? I know you mentioned applications and stuff, but what specific doors were closed?
I was big, and honestly, I've been on the show before talking about voting rights, and my major in the college initially was political science. I wanted to be a lawyer, and then I wanted to go into politics, and that was like my biggest thing. I was one of those people that studied like the Jim Crow era when people were not given the right to vote. So that was something that was really important to me. And I had read about, because at the time, the governor, I believe it was Tom Vilsack, who was the governor at that time. And he said that as soon as you got out, your rights was restored. But then when I tried to go vote, I went to the recorder's office and they said, you're not able to vote because you have this. And so I had to go through a whole process to get that. So, because it was something you had to do before you got to that point. But it was really, that was closed. And that, I couldn't do it. It was very frustrating because it's like, man, I served my time and I should be able to just get this back, but it wasn't there.
Mm-hmm. So during going through that, did you ever want to give up?
I don't know. That's just that giving up was never in me. For me, I was one of those people that was always motivated by adversity, you know what I mean? Because I always felt like adversity only can make you stronger. And to me, it was just like one of those things that I just kept telling myself. And it's funny because I was reading your questions ahead of time. One of the things that made me, it was a statement. I had saw this as soon as I came in. Failure is a state of mind, success is a state of being. And so for years, I just kept repeating that kind of statement, that mantra, because if I put failure in my mind, that's what I'm going to do is fail. But if I just continue to work towards success, that's where I'm at the moment. So it just made me keep thinking about what am I going to do to be successful? And I never wanted to give up because I wanted more for myself. Like I said, I had kids. I wanted my kids to have better. I just wanted more for myself.
Mm-hmm. And then also too with the stigma of Black men not knowing what to do when they are released, and then having that motivation of I'm not gonna go back, I'm not gonna revert back, so I have to stay steadfast of what's to come.
And I knew what I wanted. I knew like the journey. I talked to my wife about this a lot because I had wrote up everything. They used to give us these manila envelopes, and the manila envelopes, you seal them and stuff, like a package thing or whatever. And I literally wrote up everything I wanted to do, including something like this and other things that I've done in this community over the years. I literally wrote them up and put them in a package, sealed them, and then I was just like, and I didn't put a date on them. I was just like, I'm gonna do this in the future. And ironically, a lot of these things that I've done, and that's something we'll talk about, I've done it.
Yeah,
so
that's amazing. What an incredible story Dwayne shares with us.
But his journey is not over. Hear what his message is to people in the community when we come back. Welcome back, and thank you for joining us for this week's episode of Real Conversations in the QC. I'm host and contributor Theresa Bryant.
And I'm contributor Jasmine Butler. In our first half, we met Dwayne Hodges, a formerly incarcerated man who is now a local business owner. He tells his story of re-entry into society after serving time and the challenges that followed.
And now he explains what success means to him. And he shares a message to younger people about mistakes and redemption. Take a look.
So how do background checks affect progress?
Oh boy, they affect everything, because one of the biggest hurdles that you have to overcome is that part of it, that when you apply for something, more than likely you're going to be told no, and then when they do that background check, you know it's going to show up. But one of the things that I learned though is, like, you got to be honest. If you're not honest about what happened, you're never going to be able to go forward, because if you keep lying, all you're doing, not only are you lying to the people that you're applying to, you're lying to yourself, because you're trying to put that thing, and you're like denying the fact that you were incarcerated or you even committed a crime or anything like that. And those background checks are man, they can make or break you, honestly, because I still, even now, I don't even have the hurdles that I go through, what I did at that time. But anytime I have to put in anything that requires my information to be checked or anything, I get nervous. Like, I literally start getting nervous, and I feel like, oh my God, they're going to tell me no, and then when I get the yes, I'm like, yes, but I still deal with that, a lot of that, because the background check is one of the most important things that's done in all the society. Credit check, background checks, all those things.
Yes. So why does society talk rehabilitation but block redemption?
I believe a lot of that has to do with the fact that with rehabilitation is one of those words. It's such a mixed term. And if you understand what I'm saying with that, is that it's one of those things that they say, okay, we want to help this person, we want to help this person, but something you just said was about stigma. Stigma gets placed on you. I was labeled a drug dealer. And so a drug dealer is a person that destroys communities, destroys societies. They're not a person who's articulate, who can talk, who can function. And when society looks at you that way, that's who you are. When they get it on paper, that's who you are. That's why I was talking about, like, if I've gotten pulled over maybe twice in the last 18 years that I've been kind of out of that whole situation. And what's crazy is I still have the same feeling I did when I was doing wrong, and if I got pulled over, you know what I mean? And I'm 54 years old now, so it's a whole different situation right now for me. But rehabilitation, they block, and I don't want to say they block redemption, because I think you put hurdles in your own way.
Right.
If you want to do something, you're going to do it. It's not going to matter to you what people say. If somebody blocks you, you got to keep going. You can't let those hurdles get in your way. If they block, if you want to rehab yourself and you want to get yourself together, you got to take the steps. You can't make excuses. You cannot let people tell you can't do something. I'll give you an example. So when I got out, I was applying for jobs, and I got a job. I was blessed. I got a job immediately after I got out. Got promoted to supervisor literally within 2 months after I was out. I saw another job open up, and I was like, they're not going to hire me, because it was a government job. And I was like, they're not going to hire me. But then I said, all they can do is tell me no. So the first time I applied for it, they told me no. And it was because of my background. But I let some time pass, and I applied again. Then they gave it to me. And so now I'm sitting working for a government organization, and I'm sitting there, and I see people that know my background, and they're like, how the heck did you get a job here? And I'm like, well, I applied for it. You know what I mean? And that's the thing. If you let people block your blessing, they're going to do it. Yeah. And so for me, it was just important for me to keep pushing through, no matter what somebody tried to do or hurdles they might try to throw in my way.
Yeah, that's an awesome story. Thank you for sharing that. How important are support systems?
Oh, they are very, very, they're so important. They're vital, because the thing is, the more you connect with people that understand your journey, you know what I mean? That's why for me, I've been on this mission of trying to work with people that have gone through the same similar things as me, to be a support system. But you mentioned something about African-American males earlier. African-American males, we don't like seeking advice from other African-American males, unfortunately. And what happens is it blocks you from going into doing things. And when it's even going through that process, I tell you, it's like a living nightmare when you're in those places, because you're by yourself. Nobody's really there to support you. You can't expect people to spend their money that they got to pay their rent and their mortgage and car notes and all this stuff on you while you're in there. So you have to figure out how to do it yourself. But having a support system is I mean, vital to success. I learned that a long time ago, that I had to have people that I could talk to that understood like my plight and what I was going through, and that were willing to kind of join me on this walk. I realized they can't walk for me, but they can always help me along the journey. It's not about a financial thing, because that's what everybody turns everything into, is financial. It's not about finances. It's more about, sometimes I just need somebody to talk to. Sometimes I just need someone to be able to say, man, you're going to make it. You're going to be all right. But the thing is, in the day and age we live in, that's such a lost, and I tell you, I blame social media for that, because social media has made people say you can be what you want to be if it looks this way. And it's sad, but going back to the question, and really just the support systems, they could be vital if you have the right people around you.
Yes.
You have to have the right people around you. They have to understand your journey, and they also have to know where you're going, but that also requires you to be a little bit more transparent. If you're not transparent, like even talking about this in this setting,
Right.
I would have hesitancy because of the fact that I've accomplished some things, and a lot of people that know me in the community know things that I've done, and they don't even know this part of the journey because it's been a lot of years. But I'm transparent. If you judge me because of where I've been, you weren't my friend anyway.
Yeah.
So that's how I look at it. So you weren't in my support system. But the people that say, man, that's an outstanding journey, I'm glad that you made it through.
Yes.
And that's personally what I want in my life.
Yes. And it sounds like you have it.
Yeah.
Okay, so now you mentioned that you had a government job prior. So now you're entrepreneurial. So
Yes.
why entrepreneurship?
Man, I can speak volumes about entrepreneurship, because I've always had the desire to have my own business, doing my own thing, not having to really worry and depend on. I've worked jobs for years. Don't get me wrong. I've worked for people, been a supervisor, all these different things, but entrepreneurship, there's nothing like it. There's nothing like being able to wake up every morning, go to a job that you enjoy, that you created, that's important to you. And mine is aligned with a lot of what I've gone through in my life. So this journey of entrepreneurship it's been testy. Don't get me wrong, because I was very hesitant to do it, because I was like, no, I got to work for somebody. I got to have 401k, and I got to have all these things. But when I did this, and then I just started looking at the what could be with it, it made me say, okay, I can do this. I can do it. And now I'm in this journey, and I'm 7 years into it, and I'm a spiritual person. 7 years is a year of completion. So I'm excited, because it's going really great, and things are getting better and better, and more doors are opening up. And so that's why entrepreneurship, I'll preach the praise and preach that to the day I die, about going out, and if it's something you want to do it. The only person that can stop you is yourself. And that's where so many people have a problem with going into being an entrepreneur. They don't want to go into it because they fear certain things that they won't have. But think about all the things you'll gain when you're able to access it and doing it yourself.
So tell us about your businesses.
Well, so we have, and I say we because I'm married, and my wife and she's an active part in everything that I do. Camille Hodges, shout out. So we have this business here that you're sitting in right now. This is QC DUI Services. I was a counselor at a treatment center for a long time, and I was there, and I was actively working with 70 to 80 clients at any given time. And if you don't know much about that world, when you're working with 70 people, it's impossible to be close and have to pay attention to every avenue of what these. And I was a substance abuse counselor. And I started just sitting back one day, and I was like, you know what? I can't keep doing this. This is, and it's not that I didn't enjoy the work. It was just getting to be to the point where, like, I'm getting passed over for promotions. I'm training people that are coming in and taking a position up above me. And I was like, you know what? With my certification, I can do this myself. And then I started doing everything. I created the LLC. I did all the stuff and I did it all on my own. I didn't go to all these legal Zooms and all these things. I don't, if we have any copyright stuff or anything, but I didn't go to all these things. I dug in the dirt, learned how to do it. And I started this, and it's just really, and this crazy thing is this, I started this a year before COVID. And I didn't think I was going to manage after COVID, but City of Rock Island helped out a little bit because they saw I was an essential worker at that time. And so they, but it's been good. But that's one. As you said earlier, I'm a pastor. We have a church. We have a business. It's called Belle Bouvier Boutique. That's the boutique. And now we've taken it fully online now. So that's something that, my wife she's kind of spearheading that. We have a nonprofit organization that we do like different events and things like that in the community. We are active. We're
Yes,
active.
very
And
active.
we're doing a lot. And it's all in this entrepreneur genre too.
Yes, and I love too how you also created opportunities for people in our community as well.
Absolutely.
So yeah, that's
Yeah,
just amazing.
when we did helping small business, that was just an amazing endeavor. We love that because we actually called it what it was, helping small business succeed. And we did that for a while in the mall, and we're not through with that. We're just regrouping because a lot of things this has been so busy between this and other avenues that we've been in. We just haven't had the time to really put into some of the other things, but we do have some other things on the works. Just be on the lookout.
And more to come in the future.
More to come.
Yes, I love that. So what should young people know about mistakes and recovery?
You're going to make mistakes. I think that's the biggest part of it. I think so many people that, especially when you look at, the things that are available out here, they don't sugarcoat, they don't hide anything anymore. With the internet, there's so many things that are visual to young people nowadays. You know what I mean? So when they see it, because I tell you, if you tell somebody that they can't do something, more than likely they're going to do everything they can to get to it. And so my thing is with young people, you're going to make mistakes, but what you have to do is you have to keep pushing through. You have to just say, you know what? I know that I've made this mistake, but I'm going to fall down and I know that I can get back up again. But the thing is, it goes back again, what we said before, your support system. If your support system is there to help you through those things, they'll be able to help you kind of reach goals that you've set for yourself.
That's a really good point. So what is a message to employers that are hesitant to hire returning citizens?
Listen, I tell employers all the time, and I've talked because I was an employment developer at one time. I've done a lot of different jobs in different capacities within the employment realm. And I tell people all the time, these people are going to be the hardest working people that you ever, listen, and I don't know the statistical number, but there's a very low statistical number that person is going to steal from you. They're going to do anything to harm your business.
Right.
Most of these people, they just want an opportunity and they want a chance. Give them a chance. And you never know who you're looking at. You're looking at that next person that's going to manage your whole warehouse the most efficiently that you've ever seen. Think about it. When you got a guy that's been sitting in a place for 10, 15 years of their life and they've done nothing but study about this thing, especially the ones that put that much passion into what they do. That's the problem. It's so many people that don't look at that person. They only look at them as that statistical number and what they've done, as opposed to saying, okay, let me give this person a chance. You never know what they can bring to this company, what kind of energy they may bring to the company, and what they can do for us as a business. So give them a chance. That's that's really what I can say.
Give them a chance. What policy changes are needed locally, in your opinion?
I believe there's so many things that could be done, initiatives through, because as the Quad Cities as a whole, everybody is so divided. Of course, when you think about Iowa and things that they do over there in Illinois, I didn't come to Illinois because it was any different advantage to being in Illinois. I was here because this is where I got certified first. Otherwise, I'd probably be in Iowa. But the thing is, the policies that some of the things but I know a lot of that is changing, especially over here in Illinois. They're starting to do a lot of programming where they're taking away the stigma about the 7 years, and they're doing a lot of things. I got to shout out like Pastor Dwight Ford and many of those people along in those teams that are doing great things in the community for returning citizens. But I think more emphasis needs to be placed on just getting those people together so they can know the resources, because that's one of the biggest things that's been lacking for years, especially as the internet has evolved in so many ways. People having access to actually getting in that room with, whether it be employers, with other people that's like them. I think that's just so important, because so many people don't, what I do here, there's so many people that don't even know how to open up a PDF on a document.
Right.
They don't even know how to attach a document to an email. there's some resources that has to come with that, and whether it be an agency that does it, and like I said, I shout out to, they're doing some of that work, but there needs to be a lot more ground level things that'll help to get that to happen. And with policy changes, like money that's being placed into it, again, the stigma around individuals with backgrounds is tough because the community is not going to buy into that. But it's just certain things that has to be done that some organizations that are the smaller organizations can help. They can say, okay, we're willing to bring them in a classroom and do those things to teach them how to be a better citizen, so they can teach them how to be a better employee, things like that. Or even let's teach them how to create an LLC and turn their dream into something that can be, and it won't be just a passion anymore. It'll be something that can actually be beneficial to the community.
Yeah, that's amazing. And what does success look like now for you?
You know, success is being able to take a vacation.
That's good problems.
No, success to me now is honestly being able to wake up every morning and I get to do what I do every day. You know, I'm so excited honestly, I'm so excited I get to come to work every day. My daughter is working with me, so that's a great thing. And I get to see her every day, and I'm teaching her the business, and she's learning about what to do to start doing this. But it's so exciting to be able to, like, just being successful. It's such a loose term. Yeah. But it goes back to that phrase I told you, that mantra that I telling you, I go back to that mantra. I heard that mantra in 1998, and I still use it today. Yeah. Like literally, I still use it. Failure is a state of mind. Success is a state of being. And I guess if you really ask what that definition of success looks like, it's being. It's waking up every morning, doing something that you love, doing something that you want to do, and it's not even about not having somebody to tell you what to do, but it's just about doing something that you love and being able to accomplish what you want by any means necessary. Yes. And we know who said that.
Yes. So I think one of the biggest takeaways is people are more than their worst mistake. Talent, purpose, and leadership still exists after prison. Sometimes all people need is not a handout, but simply just a fair shot.
Absolutely.
Dwayne, thank you so much for taking the time to share your story and telling us a little bit about what's to come next for you. We greatly appreciate everything that you do, and you're part of being a part of such a great community.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Dwayne's story today shows us how second chances can come a long way. It also shows us that while dealing with major setbacks from mistakes can be exhausting, his message of never giving up can take you a long way.
Now that's a wrap for this episode of Real Conversations, brought to you in partnership with TMBC at the Lincoln Center.
And you can always catch this or any other episode of Real Conversations online on the KWQC Plus streaming app. We'll see you next week.
Real Conversations in the QC is sponsored by Centra Credit Union. Real Conversations in the QC is sponsored by Centra Credit Union. This is Real Conversations in the QC,
where Black experiences matter.
Black stories are heard.
And real conversations happen. So, let's get started.
Thank you for joining us for this week's episode of Real Conversations in the QC. I'm host and contributor Theresa Bryant.
And I'm contributor Jasmine Butler. This week, we take a look into second chances and life after incarceration. Rejoining society after spending time in jail feels like freedom, but it also proves to be challenging when trying to find jobs and housing.
In fact, a large portion of incarcerated people already struggled with housing before entering the prison system. So while they may have finished their time, they continue to serve a permanent punishment outside of prison. However, one organization here in the Quad Cities is working to support those wanting to rejoin society after prison.
We go now to contributor Tim Stinson, who met with Reverend Dr. Dwight Ford of ProjectNOW. He tells us the mission of Fully Free. Take a listen.
Welcome back. It's been close to a year since we had our last conversation, so thank you again for joining us.
Thank you for the invite.
Conversation. Always a pleasure to sit down with you and get your insight, get your feelings on things. As you know, as we going into this conversation, we're talking about second chances.
Sure.
A lot of times people hear second chances and it's, maybe years ago, if I could have did that, if I could have did this. Second chances we're talking about are from people who have been incarcerated, that are coming out and, have a hard time getting a second chance. Let's talk a little bit. I really want to start talking a little bit about Fully Free.
Sure.
Give us a little background, give our viewers a little background of Fully Free. What is it? What is it meant to do? Let's start there.
Well, Fully Free is a wonderful initiative that we've been very privileged to be a part of from the early days of the statewide organizing. It has a base, of course, in Chicago, but across the state, our affiliate chapters that we have built and supported over the last number of years. We, as an agency, got involved in 2021. Marlon Chamberlain is the executive director, a returning citizen himself, individual who has been justice impacted and leads not only a state emphasis, but a network across the nation, and he travels internationally, talking about the challenge of permanent punishments. And that's what we are really talking about. The effort has gone from Fully Free, which we keep a local chapter here and made up of individuals that are concerned about the justice or justice system reform efforts, but also welcoming people back home. And now it is metamorphosed into the sense of the Illinois Coalition to End Permanent Punishments, because that's what the finger on the pulse is really talking about.
Okay.
Let's take in consideration as our work with Fully Free and Live Free, which is a sisterhood effort to this, and Live Free has local chapters. We have that chapter as well, led by Reverend Sierra Bates Chamberlain, Marlon's wife, actually.
Okay.
And so both of them have been coming here for us and with us over the last number of years, since 2021. Our local chapter leads the Northwest Corridor in the organizing effort and representing our counties here. So you'll find representatives here from Henry, Mercer, and Rock Island County. Rock Island County has the largest representation because it's perhaps the most urban reality, but incarceration in fact affects and challenges rural landscapes as well. Most of our carceral institutions are located in rural landscapes, and many people getting out and knowing that the war on drugs also includes much more than cocaine or crack cocaine, but it also includes opioids. It also includes the reality of methamphetamine and the addictions and the behaviors that led to incarceration for so many people coming home. And so our great commitment is to take in consideration about 15,000 coming out of the Illinois Department of Corrections every year. This is just state facilities. We're not talking about feds or jails. We're talking about state systems itself. Now let's talk about what you said, a second chance. Coming home, they built up their courage. I'm ready to get out. I want to get home so I can show that I'm a different person, ready to get to work. And 45% of them will be unemployed for at least 3 years. Not because they're not trying, not because they don't go to the interviews. I had a grown man well into his late 30s almost break down on a Zoom call that we were having because he couldn't even get a job as an overnight stocker putting cans on the shelf. And he's saying, they won't even allow me to put cans on the shelf at night? I mean, I've spent all these years rehabilitating myself and ready to show the world I'm different. I can't even put cans on a shelf at night. So what we're essentially saying is that they have endured lockup. They have been charged with a crime. They've been convicted by a jury of their peers. They've been sentenced by a judge in good standing. They have done their time. They didn't crawl out. They didn't jump over some barbed wire fence. They didn't roll out in some breakout underneath a laundry truck. They didn't dig out through some cells with spoons and make it and swim some moat like Alcatraz. They walked out through the front gate.
Right. Right.
They have served their debt to society. Why does the punishment continue?
Mm-hmm.
It's one thing to be locked up. It's another thing to be locked out. We talked about for 3 years, 45% of them at least will be unemployed at least 3 years. When they do find a job, you know the average wage for that job?
What is that?
About between $12,000 and $14,000
Mm-hmm.
a year. That's on average. You know what minimum wage is for this state?
Yeah.
$15,090. We have locked them and sealed them into a state. In that same 3-year period, 40% of them will go back to incarceration, recidivate, costing the taxpayers and the debt on society and the burden and responsibilities of families now not having their loved one here to help assist the household. $199,011 per act of recidivism. That doesn't count what it costs to keep them per year. Just every single act. That puts $1.1 billion on the books of this state that we don't have because we can't figure out how to give people a second chance.
You know, and you know, thinking, because I've talked to a few individuals
Yeah.
that has come out and they're ready to get back, you know, and
Absolutely.
to, you know, get back to the community, live, you know, get in the community, get back to the family, start working and, you know, owning a home, getting that job. But you hear it's just wall after wall, hitting that brick wall. As soon as whether they're filling out the application or putting in resume, a question comes up and they have to check it or say, yes, I have been incarcerated, no matter what it is. I mean, some conversation I've had, the wall stays up.
Yeah.
And they can't make a move and things. Where do you come in? Where does the organization come in to help with that? If I'm hitting that, when do I talk to me about that connection when that happens?
Sure, the pathway home really begins before release for us.
Okay.
Many of the conversations we have, whether it's East Moline Correctional Facility or the Kewanee Life Skills Center, which is, of course, a process that individuals having served a significant amount of time. Most of the people we interact with at Kewanee Life Skills Center have spent well over 20 some odd years in prison. You know, we've worked with people after 40 years of coming home now. And so we try to intervene before. Now, other cities, other states have called us. We've gotten calls from Colorado and other places asking if their family moves here, will there be a way for them to get housing through us? Our commitment is housing first.
Okay.
And then we build the wraparound services because a person can't even get out of the carceral system without a registered address that can be approved. And if you don't have that, you do time after your time. You can't get out. So now we're talking about how important housing is. So our latest effort with Fully Free, which is a part of the Illinois Coalition in Permanent Punishments, rolled that into the Illinois Justice Project with our legislative push, which is Home for Good. I'm inside of the system there and Kewanee. I run, facilitate a book club and lecture series there. And of course, as clergy, I go there to preach. But I'm there, and a gentleman that comes up to me, one of the most kind of outspoken, vocal, thought-provoking individuals in the book club, and he said, "Reverend, you do know there's a difference between getting out and going home." I say more. He says, "Well, going home means you have some place that welcomes you, you have residency, family still alive." He said, "I won't be going home, I'll be getting out." That's the difference. So now we got to talk about what does it mean for the community to be able to assist. So for us, we intervene with the idea of that what can we do in the form of housing. 70% of the people in the Illinois Department of Corrections were homeless or housing unstable before they went to prison.
Okay.
70%. Regardless of their race, their religion, 70% of the people incarcerated
That's a very high
in
number.
the state
Yeah.
were poverty-stricken. There's a straight line from incarceration to poverty. Straight line. So what makes us think they're not going to need housing when they come out if they needed it before they went?
Exactly.
And now after the incarceration, now you have more barriers on top of that. So you're barred from employment, to your point. When you are hired, you get the least of wages. And then you're last hired and first fired, in terms is separated.
Mm-hmm.
When you take in consideration healthcare, most healthcare is tied to what? Employment. And if you get the lowest wage jobs, the most menial of work, generally your benefit package is non-existent or very reduced. Many of the people I've worked with coming out of systems that have spent 25 plus years incarcerated, their health is terrible. Their bodies are breaking down. Some because of injuries, others because of prison loaf, eating prison food for all that time that doesn't have the nutrition that it deserves and needs. You're talking about individuals who for whatever reason didn't go and get the mental health that they needed while they're in. Now they're thinking about, because prison itself is trauma, not to mention the traumas that they were experiencing that may have led to the crimes that they committed. So you didn't unpack all of this. Now you got to come back home and reintegrate back into community, reintegrate back into society. But I can tell you, most people that are coming out of the incarceration system have not had a chance just to exhale and breathe. As soon as you get out, you got to get a job. You got to fulfill the mandate, or you're going to violate your probation and get back and go back.
Mm-hmm.
It's the push, it's the drive. And now you have to do that carrying a bag of bricks, the burdens of life itself, which is the scarlet letter, a felony. I had one guy stop me in a barbershop. He said, "Reverend, have you ever been incarcerated?" I said, "No." "No, sir." He knew the work I did, and maybe in his head he figured that maybe I had the personal experience. I said, "No, sir, I've never been incarcerated." He said, "When you get locked up, it's like you fall off the edge of the world."
Mm-hmm.
And he let it go. Didn't respond. He just looked at me.
Right.
And let the silence say the rest.
While there is some legislative initiatives being done to help improve justice system reforms, there is still a massive hurdle for incarcerated people reentering society.
And when we come back, we discuss what discrimination against incarcerated people look like, along with what the community can do to help those rejoining society.
Welcome back, and thank you for joining us for this week's episode of Real Conversations in the QC. I'm host and contributor Theresa Bryant.
And I'm contributor Jasmine Butler. In our first half, we focused on what the effects incarceration has on people and what initiatives legislation is taking for justice reform. We also touched on the relationship between unstable housing and crime.
Now we go back to Tim Stinson and Reverend Dwight Ford, who discusses what the community can do to help people rejoining society and what steps they can take to find success. Take a listen.
You touched on so many different levels here, and I think the population out here, a lot of people don't think about that, about such and such been incarcerated. Okay, they're gone, whether they did a crime, whether they didn't, because we know that's a whole nother conversation whole nother conversation. But there's so much going on in that person coming out once they get out, and then to be hit with, we don't want to give you a second chance. I go here, no, you're not getting a second chance here, you're not getting a second chance here. If I do get a second chance, I might be making under the poverty, line and stuff, but I'm getting one. What can we as a community, as neighbors, businesses, and I know you're working with them and stuff, what can we do? How do we change our thinking of when someone comes out of the system and they are looking? You just talked about a lot of things.
Yeah.
What can we do? What's your suggestion to us?
Well, for one, is to be involved in a learning group where you can increase your knowledge about the population itself, whether it's through our book club, whether it's through our work with clean slate legislation that the governor signed. We worked 3 years with the Fully Free Illinois Coalition to End Permanent Punishment campaign. Finally got it passed. Clean slate now allows for 3.3 million people in the state of Illinois have arrest or felony convictions that bar them for having complete access into housing, healthcare, education, economics, and justice. Those 3.3 million, 2.2 million of them will be positively impacted by the passing of Clean Slate, which is an automatic sealing of the record that they have coming out, with the exception against violence against women and children, arson, DUIs. The things that normally can be sealed are the ones that will be automated in sealing. There will always a chance for Illinois residents to go through a process with sealing of the records. It was costly, it was complicated, it took far too long. Based upon our calculations, out of the 2.2 million people that this could positively impact, it would take 250 years going at the pace we were doing.
Wow.
And again, people run out of patience, run out of money.
Yeah.
So why do we put that burden up on them? Why can't we have an automatic sealing? Now that will come out. Now, law enforcement can still pierce the ceiling, but the employers won't see it. Forcing people to have a conversation about the individual and their skill set rather than seeing them and what they wrote on a paper. Have you ever been convicted of a crime? Illinois, we do have the ban the box legislation that went through so that they cannot. But there's still ways that people still discriminate when they see long gaps in your employment history. And they ask, what kind of went on? And then you're forced to try to figure out, what you're going to say then. And you don't want to lie. You want to be honest. And if I be honest, well, they throw away my application as soon as I leave out the door. So part of these conversations is really to figure out how can we have not just a second chance month, but a fair chance month.
I like that. Okay.
So most of us in the movement now use the term a fair chance.
Okay.
Fully understanding that many of them came from communities and households where they were not afforded a fair chance.
Mm-hmm.
They were deep in poverty. It doesn't mean you have to be impoverished to commit a crime. It just means that there's a straight line from poverty to incarceration. When you look at the people that are currently incarcerated, look at the level of education, those that didn't get a chance to finish high school, those that have learning challenges and disabilities, it is evident and clear to me. There's straight lines between education and incarceration, straight lines between poverty and incarceration. And we now know the data, and we got to be better about that. You ask, what can we do? That clean slate legislation now affords back to the state of Illinois $4.7 billion. Once it's passed, but once it has been allocated to funds and resources and it fully goes into play, $4.7 billion in lost wages will come back to the state because people couldn't get the jobs.
Yeah.
And so now people that were once seen, not in my language, but maybe in some, as part of the tax burden, can now have a chance to become part of the tax base.
Okay.
And contribute. Our whole idea of what we are asking and demanding in no uncertain terms is that people be treated as full citizens. A citizen has responsibilities. I believe you would agree.
Yeah, I would.
That people that say you have a citizenship responsibility to be able to take care of your family, do that which is right and just in society, treat your neighbors with respect, contribute back to the causes of your heart, and that you would make a contribution in society. Everybody expects for them to fulfill their citizenship responsibilities, but you can't do that. I can't do that without constitutional rights. I should have a right to compete for the job I'm qualified for. I should have a right to be housed and not be barred or treated like I'm second class and be charged more. Because that's what happens. It's discrimination. That I go to apply, they find out that I'm a convicted felon, that I have a past, that I made some bad decisions. Now all of a sudden you're charging me more for the deposit. And what am I going to do? Complain about it? I really need this place.
Yeah.
Ain't got nowhere else to go. Then when I become a renter, stuff ain't getting fixed. I got plumbing issues that the landlord won't take care of. I got a roof that leaks. What am I going to do? Complain? If I complain, they say, well, you got to go.
Mm-hmm.
I won't be renewing this lease. Then I'll be out trying to figure it out again. I got a gentleman we've been working with. We fought. My paths crossed with him when he was homeless.
Mm-hmm.
That day I met him. We were able to get him housing. He hasn't been on the streets ever since. But we had to fight to get him into the places. We had to rebuttal and send responses to their constant denials. Finally got him in. When it came time for the renewal, they refused to renew him. He got so anxiety-filled. Remember their traumas of life experience. He got so anxiety-filled. He was getting ready to go to his parole officer and said, just send me back.
Yeah.
Because I can't be homeless again.
Yeah.
He got that desperate. This is a person spent over 20 years, almost 25 years incarcerated, saying, send me back. That shows you how desperate people have become.
Exactly. Our viewers who are watching right now, two things I really want to cover here before we wrap things up. Number one, the viewers who are watching who maybe might have a loved one that is currently incarcerated, hopefully soon getting ready to come out. I never knew about any of this help that I could have, assistance I can have. What should be their step while they're listening to this? What's their next step?
I would say there are wonderful organizations and individuals committed to this work here. You could always call Project Now. We have a Justice Network meeting, generally happens quarterly, but sometimes it even happens bi-monthly if we have to update or get the community more information. It happens at Grace City Church, the church that I happen to pastor in the lower auditorium. It's at no cost. It's in the middle of the day, 11:30 to 1. Lunch is always on us. All it requires is just a registration and phone call. And even if you didn't get that together because you had to really work with your schedule, just step in and we'll start that conversation. And if your schedule is complicated during that time because you're working and you have other obligations, start the dialogue. Call us. There's Safer Foundation with Erica Lee doing a wonderful job there in commitments. We partner with them often and regularly. There are organizations like 180 that helps with the reentry portion of it and addiction. There's also Task, the commitment that they have for alternatives to create a safer and stronger communities. So those are organizations I would say reach out to us. We'll be happy to plug you in. Project Now is always at the fore because incarceration impoverishes an individual, whether they came from a family of wealth. But the fact that now you have an arrest record and the challenges you have ahead is an impoverishment sociologically and sometimes financially more often than not. So we're always going to be out front, but Project Now will never be alone.
Okay.
We always work at this together. So I would say keep your hope up. Find people that are welcoming. Find churches, mosques, synagogues that also can keep you encouraged if you have a faith tradition. If not, if you are a person that just simply believes in the best in human experience and humanity, find groups that will keep you encouraged. It's a long journey. Nobody should be able to bear this burden or should have to bear this burden in the reality alone. Get connected. That's what I would say. And try to do your best to keep your loved one encouraged as they finish up with their time and come back home.
Okay. Wrapping up, we've been conversating Illinois.
Sure.
We're quad cities, of course.
Absolutely.
What's happening in Iowa? Talk to me a little bit about that.
So there's wonderful organizing that has been done in the past. It's not as far down the road as Illinois with legislation and legislative change that has happened. I believe Iowa participates in the National Day of Empathy. Dr. Ladrina Wilson and others help to bring those to bear there. There are folks on the ground that are doing the work. Some of our organizations cross over and do that space over there as well. There's Vera French that has housing available for returning citizens. So there's work that is being done. It's just not as organized for the effort for legislative change. I would say if you're an Iowa resident, don't give up. Let's work with our legislators. Let's find the cause, learn from a sister state right across the river, and let's make sure, because when people are coming home, they're not as concerned as we are about the boundaries or the separation of a river. They will go wherever the help is. Let's see how we can essentially undergird the residents of Iowa, particularly the Iowans that are in the Quad City region. We're one region, and it's going to be upon us to make sure we don't leave municipalities behind when states and cities could advance a cause.
Okay. All right. Reverend Dr. Dwight Ford, always a pleasure.
Pleasure.
I appreciate your educating myself as well as our viewers, and we can go on for a long time here. But
I look forward to
I look
extending
forward
the
to next
conversation.
time.
Thank you so much for
Thank
the
you.
time.
All right.
Appreciate it, sir.
As Dwight Ford highlights, there is legislative work being done to help incarcerated people re-enter society. Still, for those just leaving prison, the transition to daily life is a challenge, from employment opportunities to finding sustainable housing. However, Dwight's efforts with Fully Free and ProjectNOW allows that transition to happen.
And that's a wrap for this episode of Real Conversations, brought to you in partnership with TNBC at the Lincoln Center. And remember, you can always catch this or any other episode of Real Conversations online on the KWQC Plus streaming app.
We'll see you next week.
Real Conversations in the QC is sponsored by Centra Credit Union. Real Conversations in the QC is sponsored by Centra Credit Union. This is Real Conversations in the QC,
where Black experiences matter.
Black stories are heard.
And real conversations happen. So, let's get started.
Thanks for joining us on this week's episode of Real Conversations in the QC. I'm host and contributor Theresa Bryant.
And I'm host and contributor Jasmine Butler. For our last couple of episodes, we focused on second chances and redemption.
And we first met a man who shared his journey on rejoining society after incarceration. Then we sat down with a community leader who helps those just leaving the prison system.
Now we meet Monica White, a woman who was sentenced to life in federal prison in the 1990s for a drug conspiracy charge. After almost 10 years in prison, her sentence was commuted by the President of the United States, Barack Obama.
I sat down with Monica to talk about her journey, from her reaction to the sentencing, shocking drug laws, and what kept her hopeful inside prison walls. Take a look. Monica White, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
Tell me a little bit about yourself first.
So, I'm from the Quad Cities, born and raised. Like they say, I'm from Rocktown.
Okay.
I have 4 kids, a slew of grandkids. like to call them my broke friends. I was raised by my grandparents, CB and Riola Edwards, and my mother, Linda White. I currently work at ProjectNOW and Redeploy, and R3. We work with the juvenile. I've been home 10 years. I had a federal life sentence. I was commuted by Barack Obama.
Wow, I bet that was just such an unreal feeling. Tell me about when you were first sentenced. Take me back to that time. What were your feelings? What were your thoughts about all of that?
So when I was first sentenced, it was kind of unreal. So when the judge was, I'm thinking like I'm gonna get like 10 years at the most. So I didn't really know I was facing a life sentence. When I got the charges, I didn't even know I was gonna facing federal charges. So when they came and got me, when they first stopped me, they told me, "Are you Monica White?" I had to think about it. They asked me like 3 times, "Are you her?" And I thought, "Am I her?" And so, am I Monica White? So when I finally said yeah, and they took me to the federal building and they gave me the charges, and the paper said Monica White, United States versus Monica White. I thought like, oh dang, the whole United States versus me?
Yeah.
That was a big thing. And so when the judge was saying life, it really sounded like, Charlie Brown when the teacher's talking like wah, wah, wah,
Yeah.
wah, wah. That's what it sounded like. And everybody behind me is breaking down crying. And I'm thinking like, why they crying?
Mm-hmm.
I'm in life.
Tell me a little bit about the charges at first and why this might have been treated differently for you.
So they saying that I had past charges before.
Right.
And so they gave me a conspiracy charge.
Oh.
So conspiracy basically was a hearsay. It was off of what somebody said I did.
Mm-hmm.
And it was conspiracy to distribute crack cocaine.
Mm-hmm.
And so back then in the 90s, it was ghost dope.
Mm-hmm.
Anybody could say you did something and they'll come get you for it. So that's what it amounted to.
Mm-hmm.
And then back then it was by the federal guidelines. And so they went by the point system.
Uh-huh.
And it amounted to a life sentence.
And also back then, there was a difference between the way they sentenced people that they accused of distributing crack cocaine and powder cocaine.
Yes.
Which had a racial component to that
Right.
as well.
The ratio between crack and powder was different. It was 0-1.
Oh, yeah.
So that meant that if you got powder cocaine, you got lesser time.
Right.
And if you had crack cocaine, which was hard, meaning that it was cooked up,
Mm-hmm.
the ratio was 100. So you got way more time.
So when you first heard that sentence and you say you were in disbelief, you thought it was unreal,
Mm-hmm.
when did it hit that this really was real, that this was happening?
So it really hit me like when I actually hit the prison.
Okay.
When I actually made it to Dallas Fort Worth, when I got that ride and I got there, I'm like, I'm really in prison.
Mm-hmm.
So when you first get there, you go to a team, you meet all the heads of the prison.
Right.
And it's like, they're saying like, you have life, and life, no possibility of parole. But the funny thing is, when you get your paperwork, it's supposed to say death. Mine had a question mark. And so when I seen it,
Mm-hmm.
and they passing my paper around, and I'm like, is there a problem? And they said, we never seen a paper like this. But see, I had something different. I had a praying grandma. I had Riola Edwards.
Mm-hmm.
And she told me God said I was going to come home.
Mm-hmm.
So I roll with that. So when they seen that, they was like, we don't understand why your paper has a question mark. I said, because it's questionable. Man said I was going to be here, but God said something different. So they looked at me and I was like, I don't need mental. I don't need psych or nobody.
Right.
It's going to be temporary. I'm going to go home. I don't know what day, what time, what hour, but I'm going to go home. That's why my paper is questionable.
Mm-hmm.
That's why they got that question mark.
How did your time in prison change you as a person? Or did it?
It did. It made me think that this had to count for something. I wasn't going to be the person that I went in. I was going to come home my mindset was going to be different. Mm-hmm. So I did some time in federal prison, but there was a state prison closer to home, which was Mitchellville in Iowa. So I got to transfer into that prison, and everything that was allotted for state prison, I had to fight for to get into because I was a federal inmate. Mm-hmm. So I ended up getting over 23 certificates, and I went to school for business management, to college.
Right.
And I figured like this had to count for something.
Right.
I was going to be better than the person that I was when I went in, and I was going to change my whole life around. I'm not going to act like I've never did nothing wrong, because I have, but I wasn't going to come out to be the person that I was. I had to do things different for me and my kids. Mm-hmm. I had to show my kids that just because you stumble don't mean that you stay down in it. Right. This was just a setback for a major comeback.
Did you have to constantly remind people or tell them that you were not a lost cause? Because I know that some people who are put into prison, they're constantly being told, you're a lost cause, we're going to throw you in here, we're going to lock you up, throw away the key, and forget about you.
Yeah, because people think, oh, you got a life sentence, you ain't never going home. I'm going home. And I used to tell them that, I'm going to go home. She ain't going home. She ain't going home. Their eyes was said, but I don't need you to believe because I believe myself.
Right.
I believe because my grandma told me. I had faith. Faith without works is dead. So I kept myself busy because I had 4 kids I left behind. I left behind 2 sons and 2 daughters. When I left, my oldest was 13 going on 14. My youngest was 9. So I had to strive and remember I was going home. When I went to sleep at night, I looked at that pictures. When I woke up, that's the first thing I seen. So I knew I couldn't give up because I left 4 kids behind. And as time went on, I had grandkids. So,
And that must have been really difficult, too.
It is. The hardest thing for me one day was when I finally did have grandkids and they asked me in the visiting room, what you here for? And I had to tell them because I got to tell the truth.
Right.
So when my oldest grandson say, what you here for? And I told him, I promise I'll be here. I'll be home before you get your driver's license. And I made it by the grace of God. He said, when I did make it home, he said, you kept your promise. And I was like, I forgot about it. And I said, what was that? He said, you made it home before I got my driver's license. So that was a blessing.
Were there any times when you were incarcerated that you lost hope?
Yeah. The day I lost hope was the funniest thing. My commutation was in. So Obama had just gave them 9 people the commutation.
Right.
So my boss was like, you need to put your commutation in. So that's how it all started.
Right.
So when I put it in, Margaret Colgate Love, she had did them 9 out of Washington, D.C. So I had contacted her and she took my case pro bono. And I had January 1st of that year, I had dreads down my back. So I woke up that morning and I cut my dreads. And I thought, I'm gonna get rid of my hay guards. So I cut my dreads. And when it got towards the end of the year, that morning I said, Obama finna leave office and he not gonna give me my commutation. And my boss said, you gotta go to your counselor's office. And I was like, what? But all that day, I just was crying. And I got the call that day.
Wow. Yeah. I think you must have been so surprised by that after, starting to give up hope for that short period of time because he was about to go out of office. What did you think when you finally got the word?
When I finally got the word, it was unreal. Like, Barack Obama called for me? There was another man who had been waiting for 25 years, so I told my lawyer, get off the phone with me and call him because he had been waiting longer than me. But it was unreal, so I just wanted to call home and tell my family, like, your baby coming home. Tell my kids, your mom coming home. That my grandma told me this. I had faith and I believed that I was going home.
And how did you feel knowing that not only were you getting out, but you were getting out because of the first Black president, and someone who didn't look at things in black and white? How did you feel about that?
I thought it was the best thing in the world that ever happened. I thought that words couldn't express.
Right.
That if this could happen for me, that God made this for me. He had something tailored out for me. He had greatness for me. He wanted me to get out and help the youth. He wanted me to get out and help juveniles. He wanted me to get out and do something great. This was my path.
Monica's story is just one of many tales of redemption, but it also highlights the harsh disparities between various drug charges and the sentencing that follows.
Now, don't go anywhere, as when we come back, we'll hear from Monica what her message is on redemption and the importance of second chances. In our first half, we met Monica White, a community leader who was once sentenced to life in federal prison for drug charges.
She shared with us why the disparities between drug laws led to such a long sentence and how it was commuted by Barack Obama.
We go back now to Monica as she shares with us her message of redemption. Take a listen.
Do you think that having been incarcerated, you see so many of the youth that you help and counsel that they could be on the same track and you're trying to guide them away from that?
I do. I think that the youth are getting lost right now and they need guidance, programs. There's nothing out here for them. There's no structure. Like idle time, idle mind. There's nothing out here for them to get into. Like, I was telling my son one day, I said, there's no, like an arcade.
Right.
There's nothing structured for them to get into. So I like going to talk to them. I like going to tell my story. I like going to help them, to give them something to aspire to do, to make them out into the community. Like I had a young man, I took him to the barbershop.
Oh, okay.
To let him know this is where community and people outreach and get to know each other. Well, you know, somewhere where everybody know your name.
Yeah. You know, I've had that experience too. When you go to the salon or you go to the barber shop, you know everybody there, and it's sort of a community building thing as well. And I've always found that to be a place of belonging and of home. And it's good that you saw that in that young man and wanted to show him there are people here who care about you, who want you to do well.
Yeah, you could go and you can learn how to there need to be places like that can learn how to box. Like there's a boxing place. You can learn how to build something. You can learn this neighborhood outreach. There might be somewhere somebody can learn how to cut grass. Just anything, cook. Just outreaching.
Yeah.
But there's, you know how there used to be that auntie in the neighborhood?
Yeah.
There's not that no more. Like everybody on the block knew your name.
Right.
There's none of that no more. So I feel
and if
like
they saw you acting up, they would tell your parents like that. So yeah.
Right. So that's what these kids are not getting, that because now everybody wanna don't say nothing to my kid. So I feel like everything I've been through, that's what I've learned from that I just want to give back.
You want to use that to help guide these young people.
Yeah, because if it helped them and it helped stay out of trouble, because they don't need to go to jail.
No.
They just need someone to hear them and to listen to what they got to say and help them through life. But locking up, that's not what they need.
Tell me a little bit about ProjectNOW, how you first became interested in working with them.
So, my cousin, which is now the mayor, he had took me to the a luncheon one day at the library, and the director of ProjectNOW, Pastor Ford, had told me he was interested in starting he was thinking about starting a program called R3, which was reentry, about people coming from prison. And then he said he was thinking about starting redeploy, working with the youth. And he told me he was would I be interested in doing that? He had thought about me. At the time, I was doing daycare with my daughter.
Right.
And I was like, well, let me get back with me when you get it together, but I would like to be interested in it.
Yeah.
That's something I would like to do. That was a job of mine. I had written a proposal about starting a reentry program while I was in prison. I had did a whole proposal about it myself because I was interested in starting a reentry program for women when I get out. And so he said, okay, when I get it all mapped out, I'm going to double back on you. So he got it all together. And so he told me that he had an opening and he was starting the program. So I doubled back and applied for it.
Yeah.
So I got the job. So how it works is they refer kids to our program, probation. If you're on probation, you get referred to our program. And so what we do is we follow not just the kids, but we follow the family as a whole. Okay. Because if you're in trouble, it affects not just you, it affects your family too. And what that means is if a kid's in trouble, it is in crisis, it affects the family because something going on in the family dynamic.
Right.
So if your brother, sister, mom, so being ProjectNOW is a one-stop shop. If the mom need assistance with light and gas and all that stuff, we help with that. If you need help with transportation, we help with that. If the kid need help with reading, we do horse therapy, we help with, get the kid like involved with boxing, whatever, just to get them involved with the community. If it's a young man or if it's a young female, we do whatever to try to help the child. If they need substance abuse, therapy, whatever, we're trying to partnership, mentor, and do whatever the kid needs to follow them. And plus, we reward them for the stuff they do as they finish each phase of our program. And that's how I got involved with it, because I feel like that's what I'm meant to do.
I know you now work guiding people with juvenile justice and in that system. And you talked about youth being so important, and not everybody thinks that way. No. Some think, well, kids are on their own, and that's it. But you look at it a different way.
So I feel like the people that are making the rules, they need to think that how it affects people. People are human. They need to walk a mile in the shoes, per se.
Right.
So the rule makers, they've probably never been to prison. Like Obama, he toured the prison. He sat down with the inmates and talked to them.
Right.
I feel like some of them need to do that.
Yeah.
They need to really go in the prisons and talk, because they've never experienced that. They're making rules that affect our lives, but they don't know what it do to our lives. When people go to prison, it's not just me going to prison. You go to prison with me. So if you my mother, my sister, my cousin, if I'm doing time, you're doing time with me. It don't just affect me. It affects us as a whole, as a community. So when I needed help with me coming home, I said, they say send letters. You need support letters.
Right.
So everybody doesn't know how to write a support letter. So I wrote my own and sent it out to the community. It was in all the barbershops. Went to the churches. So I had over 300 and something.
Oh my goodness, yeah.
Support letters. So when I petitioned to get Margaret to be my lawyer, she said she never seen nothing like that. She gets letters all the time, but she said she never seen nothing like that. I'm not tooting my horn or nothing like that. I'm just telling you the facts of how she became my lawyer and ended up taking my case pro bono. Because I did the work.
That's it. And some people don't know how to do the work. So being able to teach them how to do that and guide them through the process is just as important.
Right, because I wanted to come home.
Yeah.
You can pray for me all day, but I got to pray for myself and have my own faith, too. I have to believe.
And when you speak to people, especially young people in the system, what's the first thing you tell them?
The first thing I tell them, you love your mother? That's the first thing I ask them. Do you love your mom?
And
That's
of
the
course,
first thing I ask them.
and of course, most of them are going to say yes, right?
And I tell them, no, you don't. Because if you did, you wouldn't be here. And I tell them, I'm not here to scold you. I'm not here to go off on you. I'm not here to talk at you. I'm here to talk to you. And I'm here to keep it real with you. I loved my mother, but I ended up in prison. And this is what it took for me to come home.
How long do you think you'll be doing this?
As long as I'm able.
Because I can tell how deeply important this is to you. You know, it seems like not only did you start doing the hard work while you were still incarcerated, but you're doing the hard work outside of prison now to prevent other people from getting into prison or going into prison.
I feel like this is my start, and this is just the beginning for me. I feel like God is building a stage for me, and I feel like I should be all over the world on a platform. And this is my mission in life, to go around the world and help kids. And this is just a start for me.
When you look at your life today, what in your mind does a second chance mean?
A blessing. I feel like it's an honor and a privilege, and I'm glad that Obama gave me a chance, because he didn't have to, but it was by God's grace that I was one of the chosen.
Is there anything else that you'd like to tell us that you think it's important for us to know? Anything that we haven't touched on yet?
You know, people, I'm not just 1230-2030. And 1230-2030, that was my prison number. That didn't make me, and it didn't break me. People think that because people went to prison that they bad people, but we're not. We just people that stuff happened to. It was just a setback, like I said before, for our comeback. And just because we went to prison, don't look at us like that. You know, that don't make us. I'm going to be great. And other people that have numbers are going to be great too. Don't let that define us. Don't let felonies, just because people have felonies, define them, because that don't mean who they are.
It's not all you are.
No, that's not all I am, and that's not all who they are.
Monica White, thank you so much for joining us today. I really enjoyed our talk.
Thank you. I appreciate you for having me.
Monica's message centers around redemption and that mistakes are not all you are.
And her journey from prison to working to help others resettle into society at Project Now proves just that. Mistakes are not everything.
Well, that's a wrap for today. Thanks for watching this episode of Real Conversations, brought to you in partnership with TNBC at the Lincoln Center.
And remember, you can rewatch today's show or any other episode online at kwqc.com or on the KWQC Plus streaming app. We'll see you next week.
Real Conversations in the QC is sponsored by Centra Credit Union. Real Conversations in the QC is sponsored by Centra Credit Union. This is Real Conversations in the QC.
where Black experiences matter.
Black stories are heard.
And real conversations happen. So, let's get started.
Welcome to Real Conversations in the QC. I'm Theresa Bryant.
And I'm Jasmine Butler. Today, we continue the discussion on second chances. Contributor Tracy Singleton sits down with two men whose lives were majorly impacted by mistakes made in the past.
Tracy's first conversation is with Stan Knight, who volunteered to coach and mentor local youth athletes for years, but had it all taken away from him due to one mistake made many years ago.
Thanks for joining us. Today we have Stan Knight. Good morning, Stan. Thank you.
Good morning, Tracy.
So we want to talk about your role as a volunteer with the school district and youth sports. Some things have changed over the past couple of years. Why don't you start off by telling us who you are, not your record, but who you are and what you have done for this community?
Well, my name is Stan Trail Knight. I'm also, I go by Skibiego Promotions. That's my promotional company. And I have, over the few years, I have given back to the community I've come from. Well, it's not this community. I come from all over the QC.
Right.
Like, I'm known for the Easter egg hunt yearly. This year we did the Easter basket giveaway. I collaborated with Deanna's Place, Jesse with Crunchy Chicken, and Pastor Stephen Eccles with the Judas Temple in Milan. So we gave away 100 Easter baskets to boys and 100 to girls.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what I do. My promotional company, I do events and concerts and stuff around the Quad City. So that's pretty much my resume right now.
Okay. So you've been involved in the community for years.
Yes.
I always say I do it because someone did it for me. And so is that why you tend to want to give back and help?
Yeah, I mean, it's actually, our community deserves this. Some kids, they grow up and they might not get a chance to get an Easter basket. They might not get a chance to, like we do the carnival too with Miss Pamela Seals. They might not get a chance to experience a carnival.
Right.
So we try to, give that experience to these kids as well, so they have the opportunity to at least experience it once in a lifetime if they never experience
it again. Right,
So-
for sure. So as far as the volunteering with the youth sports goes, how long were you volunteering with these kids before you were told that you couldn't be there anymore? And what did that relationship look like with them?
Well, I started coaching when my oldest son and my nephew were like 8 years old. So they're 20 now.
Okay, so
I started with the RIFAC program with the flag football. So I started there and I did that for, say, 5 years. And then after that, I took a break for a while and then I went back for 2 more years. Then after that, I had got asked by one of my friends that coached the Little Rocks program. He was like, man, you should come to the Little Rocks program. They have a flag football league they're finna start up there. So I'm like, all right, I'll take it into consideration. Like a lot of my kids that I were coaching, they were going on to like middle school and stuff like that. So I'm
Right.
like, all right, well, it'd be a new chance for me to, step up into the ranks of the Little Rocks program.
right.
So, and actually a couple of my kids that I was coaching in the RIFAC, one of them was going up there to Little Rocks as well. So I'm like, I talked to his parents. He was like, man, yeah, it's a good idea. He's going to Little Rocks. So I'm like, all right, well, I'll go up there and, I'll follow him in this journey. So
Mm-hmm.
I did that. So the first year, I was the head coach for the flag football league for one of the teams. So in that year, we played like 8 games, and my team was the only team that was undefeated. We won
Okay.
8 games straight. So
Mm-hmm.
after that, the coordinator came to me. He was like, well, we want you to come up to the tackle league. I'm like, all right, I'll come up to the tackle league. So I met the coaches and everything. And all right, well, I've always wanted to step up in the ranks and coach because, I'm from Rock Island. So
Right.
I'm Rock Island pride. You know how
Right,
that goes.
yes.
So I'm like, maybe that'd be a good opportunity for me to step my ranks up and get to, hopefully to the high school level. So
right.
I went there and I was coaching 5th and 6th grade league. I was the reg team coach. And we had a good season. I mean, it wasn't the best season. I think we got more of like, let's say we won like 4 games, 4 out of 7. So, I mean, so everything was going good. So the next year, I decided I'm coming back and do it again. So this year, the year that I decided to come back, they were like, well, when we went to, they have a team meeting with all the coaches, that volunteer meeting up at Rocky. So that when we went this year, it was a little different. So they were like, now we have to do background checks on all the coaches. I'm like, okay, well, I've been in trouble in a while, so I'm like, fine. So they did the background check. He came to me, he was like, well, we're aware of what you have in your background. You don't have anything harmful towards kids, violent or anything. They're like, we're going to let you coach. Like, we love what you bring to our energy, the energy you bring to our team, to our program and this and that. The kids love you, so we're going to continue to let you coach. I'm like, all right, fine. So there I was, again, another year. So the year started, and after the first game, that's when I was informed that, something that came up.
Okay. So at this point in time, I think the first question is, were you still coaching your son and your nephew, or were you now just doing it for the kids in the community?
I was just doing it for the kids in the community. Now my kids were grown, like
Right.
18, and they were older now. So once my kids decided they didn't want to play anymore, I still continued to coach because I just have a passion and love for kids.
Right.
I'm a sports kid, so I grew up playing sports, and I didn't have a lot of support growing up. Like a father figure support growing up to continue me into that journey of probably going to
The next
further
level.
in the next
Right.
level,
Yeah.
because I was in 10th grade at Rocky, and we had scouts coming to watch scouts to scout us at 10th grade. So,
Yeah.
so if I feel like if I would have had that push with a male role model or something like that, I would have got further and further in life and never made the mistakes I made.
So you were trying to give that to
I was
these
giving that,
kids.
yes, giving that to these kids.
Right.
A lot of these kids, they don't have father figures. Like a lot of the times, people don't understand. Like it's their mothers bringing them to practice.
Right.
It's their mothers supporting the games.
Yes.
So
Yep.
I'm just there.
Yep.
I'm not your father, but I'm just there to encourage you to continue to do this, to give you what I didn't have. So
Right.
that's basically what my role was.
So how did that feel then? What did it feel like when they finally came and they're like, we're sorry, but no, it's not going to happen?
Well, they didn't. Well, the way they came, I was at practice. So the head coordinator came to me. He was like, well, we need to talk. I'm like, okay. I didn't know what it was, So I'm like,
Right.
he was like, we got informed that a parent, because I coached the red team, it's the gold team. He was like, we got informed that one of the parents on the gold team singled me out. It's 5 or 6 different coaches singled me out and decided to do their own background check on me, which when I got the email stating what was in there, it was everything that they already knew about.
Right.
So they were like, well, their concern is they're going to pull their kid from the program if you're allowed to coach. So I'm like, oh, wow. I'm like, okay, well, what are we going to do about this? We're like, we're not going to let you go today. We're going to have a meeting with the board, and then whatever they decide, we'll let you know. He's like, well, I'll let you come speak on your behalf if they do decide to, release you, let you go. I'm like, all right, fine. So I got the email, then I got a phone call, and he was like, well, they decided to release you from coaching. I'm like, so am I going to get the opportunity to speak on my own behalf? And I never got an answer back. So I was informed that I could come to practice, turn in my equipment and everything, and I could speak to the kids before I go, and that's what I did.
So off of that, how was that conversation? What did those kids mean to you? And what do you think it means to them that you're just suddenly gone?
All the kids were crushed. Like a majority of the kids even the kids that weren't on my team, they were crying, and it was a horrible, it wasn't a good feeling. A lot of the parents were outraged about it. They were ready to sign petitions. They had a whole meeting after practice and were like, what's going on? Why is this guy being, this is one of our favorite coaches. He good to our kids, love him and everything. He means so much to this program. Why all of a sudden is this happening now? They're like, who was the parent who did it? They wouldn't disclose who the parent was, which I understand, but it was it was heartbreaking, to be honest with you, because these kids, they meant so much to me. You know what I'm saying? Like what I do, I volunteer my time. I don't get paid to do this.
Right.
We
It's
volunteer
your own
our time to do
right.
this. Like, so, I mean, I feel it wasn't fair, you know.
Yeah.
It really wasn't fair because if it was an issue from the jump to what was on my background, I should have never been allowed to come back after that.
Right, in the first place.
So pretty much with you understanding and knowing what's on my background and still letting me coach is a smack in the face.
Right. So what would you like, I'm just going to say those that be, because I'm not sure exactly where these decisions come from as far as who's responsible for making these decisions, but whoever it is, if they were listening right now, what would you want them to know? Not about your record, but about what you've given and what they're taking away.
Well, for instance, I would want them to know that they know what they had.
Right.
They know what I meant to this program. They know what I meant to these kids. And a lot of them have been around me and they know what those kids in that program meant to me.
Right.
Like, so I would want them to know that I think that they made a mistake. I just think that people deserve second chances. I don't think that anybody should be judged by nobody but the man above. So I just hope that moving forward, they come up with a solution where they can give people who have passed an opportunity to, you know, give back to the community, volunteer to right their wrongs. You know, like people change.
Mm-hmm.
They do. Like it happens all the time.
All the time. So you talked about this path forward. Is this something that you're fighting? I mean, what does that look like for you?
Well, I really can't disclose too much about that
Okay.
right now because my lawyer doesn't want me to talk too much about it because we're still in the legal battles of trying to figure out what outlet to take about it, especially with it just being like us volunteering. But I'm not going to let it go away easy. I mean, if it takes, even if I don't get to coach again, if it opens up the door for somebody else that's in my situation to be able to, I'm fine with that. Like I'm working a job now and everything, so I don't really have a lot of time to, you know, volunteer as much. If I could, I definitely would. Like if I could do it for 5-10 more years, I would.
Right.
You know, but it's like when that door closed for me, another door opened for me.
Right.
So it's kind of a blessing at the same time, but it still took away what them kids meant to me and I meant to that program. So
Right. Well, thank you for sharing and being
problem,
so
no
open and
problem.
transparent about it. And I wish you nothing but luck in the
Thank
future.
you too. You
Thank
too.
you.
A powerful message from Stan about how society treats those with labels and why a felony doesn't define who you are as a person.
Coming up next, Tracy sits down with T.Y. Stone, who discussed how a program offered to him in prison has made him a better man.
Welcome back to Real Conversations in the QC. Now, we just heard from Stan Knight about how the label of felon can affect your life long after you serve your time.
Now, we sit down with T.Y. Stone. T.Y. discusses how a pilot program to teach college courses in prison is giving him a second chance at life.
How are you?
I am awesome. Glad to be here. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. So we're just going to start off about the college prison program that you were involved in. When you heard that there was a program where you could take college courses that were available inside, what did you think? And did you believe that it was a real thing, not just someone saying something?
Yeah, so I was not as jaded. I've only been incarcerated at that point for 5 years, so I wasn't as jaded by administrations or the state's false promises. We're going to do this to a piece of legislation and it never happens.
Right.
Or we're going to bring this program to a certain facility and it never happens. So I was very excited. I did not believe that it was not going to come. The only thing I was focused on was the good time aspect of it all.
Okay, so you were able to receive some time off in order to take. Okay.
Correct. So in 2020, at the height of the pandemic, we started getting whispers of the Augustana Prison Education Program, which is a 4-year accredited bachelor's degree program provided by the Augustana
Right.
College. I had to correct that.
Uh-huh.
And it was just awesome. They brought real professors in from campus.
Mm-hmm.
They gave us a curriculum that was equal, not less than the students that were on campus in class. So we had the exact same curriculum. And these teachers, they brought in themselves, right? They treated us like human. They nurtured us in a way where we went inside this classroom that was on the East Moline Correctional Facility compound. It felt like we were not there.
So that leads us into this next question about what was it like? What was the experience like being in a classroom, writing a paper, earning a grade while incarcerated? What did you do? How did that make you see yourself?
I guess now that I've been inside of class and I was so to be in APEP, you have to be incarcerated. When we're released, we're just regular students at that point.
Okay.
But in APEP, it prepared me for the real world. That's kind of crazy to say, but it really did prepare me to be a full-time student in the real world. It started getting me to be able to read longer, write better, write longer. After being away from education for over 15 years, those motor systems kind of slowed down.
Right.
So writing, 5-6 page papers by hand and by pen, you mess up one, you have to ball up and restart it over.
Right.
You kind of get a little hurt at the wrist with all of this working that you're doing, but it prepared me to be a good student. One time, the prison education program brought in real students to come in as mentors and do research for us because we didn't have computers. The students came in, and one of our professors at the time had said something in front of us and them that kind of made me feel weird, which was, you guys are better students than the students that are on campus.
Oh.
You guys are doing more work. And it just made me feel weird at the time. I didn't understand it until I got on campus. And when I got on campus, oh my gosh, I love my peers. I love my peers at Augustana, but I understood what she meant when these students are showing up, not participating, and I'm not trying to down talk none of my class peers, but this is just the truth. When students aren't participating in class, when they're not doing the reading the day before, when they're not collaborating with each other, bouncing ideas off of each other, it shows in that classroom. And I understood what she meant. We had to read. That was a stigma that we put on ourselves. Like when we're leaving from class, we're going back to our dormitories, our housing units. We're talking, I have to finish African-American literature work first, and then I'm going to jump into intro to theater, right? To theater, right? So and then if you show up the next day and no one's asking a lot of questions, like, you ain't read. So we actually hold each other accountable
right?
for putting in the work to bring our best selves in front of each other. It's only 11 of us, 10 pilot students and 1 professor. And it gave a sense of urgency. It gave a sense of purpose and meaning. That's what's needed.
Right.
That sense of purpose and that sense of meaning. And you get that through education.
Okay. Alrighty. So I am trying to imagine it because most of us have had that moment where we have achieved something that we have been really working for. Walk us through graduation day, which was actually just a few days ago. What did that mean to you, and who did you think about when you were taking that diploma?
Graduation. So graduation happened on Saturday.
Right.
A very big milestone for myself and my family. And I can't help but to thank the Austin E. Knowlton Foundation for bankrolling this program. The Augustana Prison Education Program is a privately funded program. So taxpayers aren't paying their money to this. So huge thanks to the Austin E. Knowlton Foundation for putting their money and their faith into me. And what that created ultimately was the ability to articulate myself, the ability to walk across that stage knowing that there is no sense of imposter syndrome within me.
Right.
I put the work in, I got the grades, and I was able to walk across that stage. And with all of that being said, I was pretty bummed out. I was pretty bummed out. I recently lost my older brother, Curtis Stone, and I had to go home and bury him on Thursday and then come back and walk across stage on Saturday. My brother told me, I don't care who's not coming to the graduation, I'm going to be there. And he tragically passed away. But I was able to get this amazing stash that his wife created, and I was able to wear it wear it at graduation, across the stage for my graduation party. And who was I thinking about? I had my brother in mind. He's a very good man. He was a very beloved man that was taken from us far, far too soon.
Right.
But graduation was...
So it's bittersweet.
It was bittersweet.
Right.
But when I got on that stage, I saw all of those people. They were cheering. It felt worth it.
Good.
It felt worth it.
So it's safe to say that education has changed the trajectory of your life, but not everyone inside has access to what you had access to. What do you want people to understand about what's at stake when we fund or defund education in prisons?
We got to start looking at the human capital of it all.
Right.
Look at per person on what value they could bring if they were upskilled, right? If they were taught a particular skill, given the resources. We have to start thinking about what type of production in society could they bring. We hear a lot of hardship that's going on. We hear a lot of advancement with technology and AI taking a lot of jobs. Why aren't we preparing this population of people where prison is actually one of the best places to get educated?
Right.
You don't have outside stimulant.
Exactly.
You don't have these phones. You don't have tablets. You don't have games. You don't have the chaos that the outside world brings. Although you do have your own set of worries inside of prison that you are facing. But I will say that that environment is a perfect environment for one that has gotten themselves into trouble, no sense of direction, to find that inside of prison. So what I would tell the people that say defund these programs, we need to start looking at the human capital of it all. What are we losing by simply placing people inside of these waiting areas and then release them back into the world, expecting them to be productive?
Good. So you've been home for a while and you're building your life. What's the wall that you didn't expect? What is still hard to do, even with this education and degree now?
I would say the felony aspect, right? The barrier of having a felony. And I am hoping that the merit outweighs the felony. Okay. If we're talking about, our current administration talks a lot about merit. And I'm looking to benefit off the merit of my bachelor's degree. Although I've gained this skill set across the board, the felony is just too much for certain people to overcome. I've had great interviews with people. I've had great prospects come up to me asking me to work with them personally. And when it come down to the felony aspect, it's just something that can't be overlooked. But I personally feel like I could bring a lot of value to any company that will be willing to give me an opportunity to show my skill set, and let them know that the felony is just something that happened. It's not who I am.
Exactly. Well, there are times when we share our stories, we share our life, and you may not always have that big audience or the largest crowds. I personally always say if I help just one person, if that impact is just one person, then I've done my job. What would you say to a young man or a young woman who's sitting in prison right now and thinks that their life is over?
You know what? I will have to tell them that their current location is not their final destination, right? It's so easy for us to get caught up on our current situation. Okay, so time is so important. So in psychology, there's something called situational depression, right? You get put in bad situations and then you become sad or depressed by it. So we can get so caught up on the current time and focused on what's happening to us right now that we can't see or have the insight on what's coming in the future.
Exactly.
You must build yourself. If the prison if the Department of Corrections aren't willing to put money into these facilities to educate you or properly train you, it's up to you to do that.
Right.
There's a law library. There are all type of programs. I went through a weather program, a weather temper program where they train you to change shingles. It's roofing, repair shingles, remove them or replace them. Okay. And that was free. You sign up for it. They'll send you the curriculum throughout the year. You read, you take tests, you better yourself. At the end, they give you certificates if you've passed. Better yourself on your own time. Don't leave it to other people to do that.
And we were having this conversation earlier about hoping society will change, right? But at the end of the day, you can't bank on that, right? You have to be able, like you said, to do for yourself.
Correct. Because we live in a system where everybody think that it's broke.
Right.
It's specifically the Department of Corrections. They think that this system, this well-oiled machine is broke for some reason. It's not broke. It works exactly how it's supposed to work, and it's slow. Okay. So when you want to think about instant gratification or feeling some type of prowess about what you're doing with yourself, that takes self-determination and self-motivation. That's it. That's all. Because the moment you say, well, I can do it tomorrow, or I'll start tomorrow, tomorrow never comes.
Right.
You're looking for someone to patch this leak that's never going to get patched, and another one's going to come over here. Everything is up to you.
Yes.
110%. You can't depend on legislators to change laws. It takes too long. Legislation takes a very long time. I did an internship with Illinois State Representative Greg Johnson, where I was doing legislative research for him. And just the amount of time that one bill, you're looking from months to years that one bill could be passed. So don't sit around waiting for things like that to get done. Get inside those books and treat your mind like the precious vessel that it is. This is what's important. This is what creates the freedom and the change. Just be curious.
Because they can't take that away from me, right?
Cannot take that away from you.
All right. Well, thank you. Thank you for being open and honest. I appreciate that. And thank you for being vulnerable and transparent as well.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you.
Our thanks to T.Y. Stone and Stan Knight for sharing their perspectives on being both granted and denied a second chance.
Yes, interesting insight on how an individual can learn from a mistake, but also how it can be a lifelong fight to prove you are no longer the person that made that mistake.
True. Well, thank you for watching this episode of Real Conversations, brought to you in partnership with TMBC at the Lincoln Center. And a reminder that you can watch any episode of Real Conversations in the QC on the KWQC Plus streaming app.
And if you have a story or a community conversation you would like to hear discussed, reach out to us anytime. We'll see you next week.
Real Conversations in the QC is sponsored by Centra Credit Union.